don't make their products.
They're spokespeople.
We make all of them. So when we have a product like this that is a very difficult product to make, I'm part of the probably 200 emails that we're going through and exchanging, trying to figure out what we need to do to make products work. In fact, we're looking at doing some, there's a product on the market called Emergency, which is a vitamin C drink.
I love that, actually.
An effervescent vitamin C drink. We're trying to figure out how we could do that because you need to package it in an environment but we're trying to do a version that's 0 sugar, 0 carbs, 0 calories, but you have to make it in a room that's 10% humidity. 15% humidity, because it's an effervescent, it can't have moisture. So I spare everyone the years of pain and suffering that each of these products are required for us to get them done, because we do them without additives. And I've been working on this vitamin C drink, I hate to say it, for 30 years. Because I wanted it to be calorie-free, sugar-free, and carb-free.
Awesome.
And we're probably only a few months away from accomplishing it.
I'm so excited.
But it's difficult. And the acetyl L-carnitine was another example of a product that's difficult, but when we get it done, it's a proud moment.
We will look forward to that, but we're going to keep going because our variety hour is well underway here. We're next up going to talk about circulation and vein support, one of Andrew's top sellers, one of Andrew's top reorder products. This is another one people absolutely love. It is a notice the difference, feel the difference product. You know, if you're taking circulation and vein support, you really notice the difference when you run out. And then you notice that your legs don't feel the same. Your legs, your ankles, your calves, again, don't look the same, don't feel the same. It is remarkable what a difference this product makes. So let me show you, because we have several size choices for you. You can, of course, always do that Try Me at a 30 cap, but then we have a 60, a 180, or a 360. Here is our regular HSN pricing. Here's our pricing for Andrew's visit. Here's your savings over here. And if you have a minute to go read reviews, because there are thousands of reviews, over 2,600 reviews on hsn.com. Close to 90% of those reviews are excellent. So out of the 2,600 reviews, almost 2,200 are perfect 5. Perfect 5. And then you have another couple hundred that are 4-star. So this is a product that really is delivering incredible results for people all over the country. And we all love to sing the praises of it because it really does work beautifully.
It's over, I think, close to 85% 5-star reviews.
Yep.
I think positive reviews are close to 95%.
Yep.
This is an ingredient that you don't see it very often unless someone is copying our product. But when you do see it, it's an ingredient that you have to be very careful where you source the raw material from. This is an ingredient that originally, when I first found this ingredient in Europe, it was not available in the U.S. and it wasn't yet approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to be brought to America. In Europe, it was being regulated as a pharmaceutical, as a drug. It's a natural ingredient, it has natural sources, but it wasn't yet approved to be brought over here yet as a natural ingredient. So it's an ingredient that I have more experience in than anyone else who might be offering it here in the U.S. And we have increased its potency. We've added other ingredients that science and research have shown us, specifically the butcher's broom extract, which rivals diosmin, which is the key ingredient in this product. It rivals diosmin in terms of its benefits. So the synergy of this formula is really unlike any other product that might be pretending to be like it. And no other product has the reviews this formula has. No other product has the experience we have with producing it, having been producing it for more than 2 decades. So it's something that I'm very proud of, because if we probably hadn't done this 20+ years ago, I don't know if this product would be here. And I don't know if all of the people who have benefited from it would be benefiting from it now. It's a natural product. I don't think I make a product that has as much the reviews that we'll talk about this on omega-3, and that there are so many reviews that refer to it as a miracle product, the greatest product, wouldn't want to be without it, a lifesaver, and all these kinds of expressions of praise. I think praise is lavished more on this product, circulation vein support, than any product I make, in terms of it being life-changing, in terms of its being unexpected and the benefits that it delivers. And all you need to take is 2 capsules daily. I don't recommend 1 capsule. Some folks choose to take 3 capsules, but I really think, all things considered, 2 capsules is the ideal way to take this as a daily product.
Absolutely. You hear us talk a lot. If you watch this presentation, we nickname it the nurse's product. Anybody who is on their feet a lot, if you're required to be on your feet for your job, if you're on your feet a lot. Anybody who sits a lot, if you sit a lot for your job or you just sit a lot during the day, anybody who sits a lot or who stands a lot can benefit greatly from this product, because sitting is not good for our lower extremities in terms of circulation, and standing, of course, really puts a lot of wear and tear on those delicate veins and capillaries in our legs. And that's the whole reason people notice a difference. When your veins and your capillaries are healthier, your legs are healthier. They feel different. Your legs feel differently. They feel more energized. They don't feel like lead weights by the end of the day. You don't feel like you just want to put your feet up the minute you get home because your legs are killing you. And that's why people say they notice the difference in the size of their ankles. They notice the difference in the size of their calves. You literally see the difference when you have toned veins in your legs. I mean, it really makes perfect sense, actually. But then when you start taking it and you start using it, and people are blown away, because it really is life-changing, because you suddenly feel like doing things you didn't feel like doing before. You have more stamina. You can last longer when you're standing, when you're, if you're a teacher, whatever your profession might be. Anybody, if you work in retail, again, anybody who stands a lot, and even somebody like Andrew, he is super active. He's an athlete, he's super active. Even someone like Andrew takes a product like this. My husband, also, he's super active. He goes to the gym every single day. He takes this. Steven, our producer, again, he's in fabulous shape, but he sits a lot for his work. I mean, it's just not, sitting is not good. Standing, I love this product. It makes such a world of difference. I always remind Andrew, when I first started working with him 22 years ago, didn't take any vitamins. Didn't care about vitamins, didn't know a lot about vitamins, did not have good vitamin experiences, was not a vitamin taker. So I was a beginner. I was learning, just like maybe if you're new, you're learning too. But one of the things that I will tell you that happened is that back then I used to have to sit for these shows. I could stand for the first hour, and then my legs would get so sore. My legs would be killing me, my feet would be killing me, and they'd bring a stool out, and I'd sit for the second half of the show. And so that's what I've noticed in my work, the fact that I stand for hours, usually on a hard concrete surface when we're standing, and I notice that my legs don't fatigue the way they did. And I'm going back 22 years. I was a lot younger then, and yet I feel like I have more energy. My legs just feel more energized. I don't get fatigued the way I did way back then.
Oh, I know it from me from just because I constantly exercise.
Right.
I'm not as young as I used to be.
Right.
It's not unusual for me to, we were just spending the last few days in Miami before we came to St. Pete for the shows. And it's not unusual for me to do 25, 30, 35,000 steps. And 35,000 steps is, I guess, somewhere around, I don't know, around 15, 16 miles.
That's what I do in 3 days.
And but
that's my 3 days.
Mine are not, these are not 30-year-old legs anymore. So I just notice the difference in recovery. I notice the difference in how my legs feel at the end of the day. I notice how my legs feel when I'm laying in bed.
Yes.
I think when our legs don't fully recover, our legs feel like they're still in motion while we're laying in bed. They almost feel like they're vibrating. They're taking on a life of their own. And that's so much of what you read in the reviews about this product, that the tissues in our legs, in order to properly recover from the day's activities, they need to be well nourished. They need to have adequate reserves of oxygen, provided adequate amounts of oxygen. They also have to have their waste products carried away. And then, if the venous wall tone is such that fluids seep out of those tissues, not only do the blood vessels then enlarge, but also pressure is created in the tissues of the legs. And of course, when pressure is created, we have nerves in our legs that register pressure, and that pressure is either registered as a feeling of pressure or even as a feeling of pain. So to the extent we improve the health of the walls of the veins and thus reduce the fluid that seeps out, the pressure that's created, not only are our legs going to look better, but they're going to feel better. And just quickly, I just want to read some of the reviews.
Right.
Every time before the shows, I always review a number of reviews just before we'll go on. And these are all fresh reviews. So they're on this product, there are thousands of reviews that just are just incredibly.
Perfect. That are perfect 5.
Yeah. What is it, over 2,000?
Over 2,100 are perfect 5.
I mean, how many products have 21 reviews, let alone 2,100 five-star reviews. And this is not a product with 10,000 reviews. This is a product with only a little more than 2,500 reviews,
Exactly.
of which 2,100 are five-star reviews. So, but here, amazing. This product is absolutely amazing. It started working within 2 weeks. My legs were swollen and tight as a drum, always felt cold, and they looked like bowling pins. I'm 53 and overweight, but I've been going to the gym, and my legs have always been a struggle. I cannot stress enough how great this product is. You will not be disappointed. I've had my family watching the change in my veins and legs. I've tried so many different things that didn't work. This product is a lifesaver. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. It is worth every penny to me. Thank you for a great product, Atlanta, New Jersey. And by the way, once a year we do a Today Special on this. It will not be a Today Special until 2019, unfortunately. So this is the best pricing you're going to see in 2018.
Great.
And obviously that large size at 2 capsules a day will last you 6 months. 2 bottles of that will last you into 2019.
Perfect.
Almost just in time for a Today Special.
Nice.
So it works. I used to wake up at night with leg cramps so bad I'd cry, and the muscles would be sore for several days. Since using this circulation vein support, the only time I've had a cramp is when I know I've allowed myself to become dehydrated. I think I had the early signs of restless leg syndrome. We read about that all the time, but since using circulation vein support, and I even wonder if restless leg syndrome, not to deny that it exists in terms of how people feel, but is it really a disease? Is it really a pathology? But certainly it does exist.
Right.
I can relax and not feel the need to keep moving. Thanks, Andrew Lessman. I use several of your products and haven't found anything bad about any of them. The difference in my veins is extraordinary. I wish I had taken pictures before I started taking this, but the size of my veins has shrunk and I'm loving it. I've not had twinges of discomfort in my legs since starting this. I wish I had bought the largest bottle. Awesome. I really love this circulation vein support. I was having trouble with my legs and veins and remembered that my sister told me she has taken this for many years. Her legs are wonderful with no signs of any vein problem or any varicose veins popping out like I have. So I decided that I needed to order some of these, and they have done wonders. I am on my second bottle and will continue to take them. I read these and I just get goosebumps.
No, it is true.
They're
Ladies, I'm telling you, I have 3 sisters. We're all 1 year apart. And so we were all by the pool, and I'm the only one that didn't have like the spider veins and stuff. And they're like, why don't you have the veins? Because it's kind of a hereditary thing in my family. I'm like, at first it kind of didn't occur to me, but I thought, it has to be this. It has to be the circulation. Because I've been taking it for 20 years. I mean, I've been taking it a long time, and it really has made a big difference in how my legs look and feel.
Well, I think there's no, there's no magic in a bottle. There's no magic cure for anything. But as I always say, to the extent we make a good wellness decision, to the extent we give our body what it needs to take care of itself, and in a product like this, we give our body something that allows it to maintain what are challenged blood vessels in our body. We'll be talking a little later with vitamin K2, MK7 about our arteries and how important the resilience of our arteries is to our well-being, especially our coronary arteries. But when it comes to the veins in our legs, it's really something that has to do with our comfort, and it has to do with our vanity. We don't like those enlarged blood vessels. We don't like to see those tissues swelling. And certainly if we lose weight and if we try to be active, those are things that become sort of co-conspirators with this product in doing the right thing in terms of getting us going in the right direction. Because if our blood vessels in our legs aren't healthy, if they're not comfortable, we are not going to want to feel like exercising. And if we can't exercise, then we're not going to be achieving the weight loss we seek. And if we don't achieve the weight loss we seek, it's hard for our blood vessels to get healthier. It's kind of a vicious cycle. So this is an opportunity to do something that clinical study after clinical study have validated the importance of these ingredients and the benefits of these ingredients. And the reviews speak to those benefits almost unanimously. So Absolutely. It really is something worth a try. 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. If you don't love it, you get to send it back for complete refund.
Absolutely. I know we have to wrap it up because we have a couple more goodies we want to squeeze in. One item we just want to mention, we'll try to make some time during our